We're living in a blip of time that is incredibly unsustainable. Human civilization is growing. We've quadrupled in population over the last 100 years. And we are basically exterminating other species at a massive rate. And it's happening here in Ireland, just as much as everywhere else. It's not just the rainforest. We're burning fossil fuels at a rate now that has put us on a trajectory of a 4 to 6 degree rise in global mean surface temperature by the end of this century. That's a massive change that's coming. And where are we in Ireland? We're one of the laggards of Europe.
People are really interested in hearing ideas. They're really interested in hearing, they want something different, and they're tired of the Civil War politics. They're tired of what Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have to offer, because it's pretty much identical. We need a radical rethink of how politics functions. It's not working for people. It's certainly not working for people who are elected.
And our politicians can't be hiding from climate change. You know, I'm looking at manifestos of political parties, main political parties in this country, no mention of climate change. It's disgraceful. There's an awful lot of people disgruntled about our political system. Unfortunately, people are still hanging on to the old systems, and unfortunately there is this loyalty to those old parties. But I do think that there is a change coming. You know, it's disgraceful what we've had from our Taoiseach in Paris. He made his little 30-second little piece of rhetoric. But 5 minutes later, he was completely undermining that with what he's saying to lobby groups in this country.
We can't beat the big producers, the big multinationals, but local community can take hold of cooperative food production themselves. They can open up local abattoirs, they can have their own localised food systems, localised energy systems, whereby they can produce small-scale hydro, small-scale anaerobic digestion. You know, there are wonderful projects out there that need to be supported.
We have an issue here in Ireland now that there are anti-wind people out there simply because we mismanage the way we structure wind energy. We allow developers to build wind farms. We should have structured our wind around local communities taking ownership of their wind, as they do in Denmark and in Sweden and in Austria and Germany and all these countries.
What we're about is representing the common good, representing everyone's interests, and ensuring that we have a much more equal society, because that's a less violent society. We have that income is distributed equally, that resources are distributed equally between rural and urban, and that in particular I feel very strongly that our young people have been let down very, very badly by the political system. Why are they so disenfranchised? Why is there such high unemployment in many rural areas among young people?
I think we need to wake up. We as citizens have to realise that it's up to us to start engaging. We can't be expecting politicians to lead. They don't lead, they follow. We have to ourselves take ownership of our future, take ownership for our children's future, and realise that if we want a country that is going to be where young children can flourish in this country, in their local areas, and build a family in their local areas and not have to emigrate, we have to change the model.
We are first and foremost national legislators. Our job is not to spend 3 days a week down in the constituency office or going to funerals. Our job is to legislate on behalf of the people, and there's enough work and plenty of work that needs to be done. And I think people would respect us for it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on this, but how do you actually take big issues like long-term issues, like climate change, like biodiversity issues, like tackling our flooding issues? You know, these are big issues that are coming and they're going to increase. How do you deal with these issues when elections are only over these short-term periods?
I think it's vitally important that politicians are informed by demographics, they're informed by CSO data, they're informed by things like the CFRAM flood mapping, that they use all these tools at their disposal to look at longitudinal trends and what the country requires and what's needed, what our population growth is going to be, where transport routes are going to be. And I think that should help if we have a more informed approach and a more measured approach to how we work, that it can go beyond the 5-year electoral cycles, that the work of the Oireachtas can continue, and if it takes a longer time to bring about a piece of legislation, but it is more robust, well then so be it.
Every time we fill up our car in petrol, we have to realise that this is doing damage, because that money is going into corrupt regimes that could stay in our own society and could be done in a very sustainable way, and it could build this new economy that we need in this country. Because if we don't do it, we'll be left behind. We'll just be left behind. You know, in my view, we've got a very irresponsible media. I'm talking about radio, television, newsprint. All of our media depends on advertising revenue. So they're all locked into selling newspapers or, you know, audience share in radio programs. Every host is rivaling with everybody else. And I mean, advertising is corrupting us, you know, advertising is manipulating us, you know.
Yes.
What do? Well, we start to collaborate. We get away from the model of individualism. We've grown up in this neoliberal economic model, which is self-destructing us. We need to move to a collaborative way where we build consensus locally and we collaborate and we can have fun with this. There's great social benefits, there's great fun in collaborating. We need to kind of intervene and say, look, we can, as people, do it, because it's not going to come from our main political parties. Forget about them, they're not going to do it. They're only interested in getting into power positions and continuing the old system that is going to bring us down. I just want to get the message out to all of you. Before the election happens, we need to have people like Malcolm Noonan that are going to act for the interest of us and for our children and from the long term, that would seriously give us the solutions that we need. We have to get away from that old model of politics and start building a new vision for Ireland. So I'll stop now. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me, by the way. Sorry, I hope I didn't rant too much there, but thank you. Appreciate that.